Do you think I should turn the light off behind me?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Create It and Crush It Masterclass. We are on Masterclass number 2, and today we have Donna Brown with us. So welcome, Donna.
Oh, welcome, Lacey, and welcome, everybody.
So I'm Lacey Craig. I'm a business mentor and success coach, and I created the Create It and Crush It Masterclass because I really wanted to showcase for all of you, the amazing women that I get to work with, how much community, how much supporting each other, how much being a rising tide, lifting all boats is really possible in this industry because we each have such complementary, unique, and amazing skills, and we need to really put those together. So I'm bringing all of these phenomenal women on that have something different to offer you that is going to help you create amazing content, create amazing ideas, and then translate those ideas to crushing it online and in your business. So Donna is with us today because she is a business visionary and mentor that has helped everyone from solo entrepreneurs to big companies to Buddhist monks to important companies within the food service industry. And Donna has spent decades doing creative consulting in fashion, food, interior design, garden, lifestyle, ton of different areas that she's worked, but really like Donna's underlying work has been helping her clients to tap into what their core meaning and purpose is, to really present themselves to the world through their business, to provide products and services that improve the lives of their clients. And Donna is really about having this big vision for your business and letting that be the North Star that guides you. So that is why her masterclass is on creating your business vision. Did I leave anything out, Donna?
No, you didn't. You did a great job. In fact, I'm going to copy that intro.
We'll save it for you. Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. So I kind of touched on your background, but if you just want to give everybody like a quick walk down your past, like what have you done? Why is this business vision so important for you? Just as like a little intro to you before we get started.
Okay, great. So as Lacey said, I've done a lot of creative work all my life. I did my degree in performance, classical music. So I started off as a creative in fine arts, and then I moved into fashion, and from fashion into designing home textiles, and then being the fashion coordinator of a large home furnishings department store, all in Italy, because I moved to Italy 34 years ago. So yikes. True. So I've been here a long time. So my work experience has been mostly in Italy, strangely enough. And over the years, I've been able to, I did a master's in historical park and garden restoration. I studied landscape architecture. I've done huge events for floral events for the Scala Theater, television programs on lifestyle for specialized channel here that's called Gambero Rosso, for the main big channel here, which is called Rai Due. It's like CBS or something. And what else have I done? I don't know, tons of stuff. Cookbooks, creative consulting for a lot of different companies. But I think that when I looked back on it, everything seemed so different at the time. And then really all the companies asked me to do was to interpret who they are the best way possible, or to give themselves, or to find a new way of even looking at themselves. So whether it's the designs you bring through fashion so that the brand sees itself differently, or whether it's presenting, certain colors and lines or whatever for, home design, or developing a theme for the opening of the opera season, it really boils down to the same thing, kind of really honing in on who that client is, what they represent. That maybe they don't even recognize sometimes, because quite often, we're so involved in, even companies, they're all involved in their own thing, right?
Very hard to see the forest through our own trees.
Yeah. And then just somebody comes and just says, oh yeah, but what about that? And he's like, oh wow, I never thought of that. So that's the fun part. And again, with food service industry companies placing themselves, it's basically gelato batch freezers, placing themselves in new markets, creating new interest, bringing gelato sort of like an olive oil tasting, wine tasting experience for the public. So all kinds of different revenue streams. So it's fun. So all my clients end up having more income. They have huge increases in their sales. But it's not because I'm special in any way. And so it's just because I really listen to them and really listen to and feel what's going on with them and with their business.
I'll disagree with you a little bit there, but okay.
But the thing is that part of this you can do yourself. I think you can learn a little bit more of the skills, and I was going to just kind of walk people through some exercises they can do to help themselves sort of tune in a little bit more if they don't have the chance to work with me for whatever reason. They just want to start get at it right away or something. So for me,
definitely.
Yeah. And did you want to tell me a little bit? Do you want me to start jumping into what I think a business vision is, or what I call it?
What I would love to just ask you first, now that everyone kind of like knows you better, is like, I would just love for you to talk a little bit about how you feel like support and community has really helped you in the online business world and how you see that being so vital moving forward. So that's really why I created this masterclass, why I created Create It and Crush It, because I want to create more community. I want to talk more about how all of our talents and strengths complement each other.
Absolutely.
So I would just love to know your take on that. Like, how do you think support's been important? I know you have a think tank coming up, so you believe in bringing women together. So just speak to us for a moment on that, and then we'll jump right into the content.
Yeah, I'm kind of living proof because I'm also the lucky partner of Lacey in the Lit Up partnership. But when I saw her wanting to work with somebody as a partner, I loved that concept. It just really spoke to my heart because business is moving from competition models to collaborative models, and even the large multinationals are moving to what they call co-opetition. So they're collaborating with competitors to move forward in certain ways. But I really, really believe that that is the way of the future. We're all tired of that competition. Competition is tiring. It's aggressive. It's fear-based. It's not compassion-based, love-based, and we aren't fear. That's not our natural state. And anything that takes you away from your national state in the end is tiring and impoverishes you in some way. And to me, that's really, really important. And the other thing is that nobody's good at everything. And we have this environment, especially the solopreneurs in the digital space. Everybody has so many different talents, but nobody is everything to all people. So it's inevitable that people do search for different answers for different problems because nobody can, solve all the famous pain points, right? Or the lack of maybe technical expertise that you might have. But the more it's a shared experience, the client who's which we forget about sometimes, we get a little bit caught up in our own heads. It's ultimately about the client and what it is they need and what's best for them and for their business. And if you can forge strong partnerships with other people who complement you, it's you're able to really, really serve that client in a very open way. Because how many of us have heard, oh no, I can't do that because I'm in 2 other masterminds and it's the first time. That's the first time you've heard of it, right? Or they're overextended because they're doing 75 different programs, and they may all be great, but maybe they could have been put in a different order. And I don't even want to say with different people, but do you know what I'm saying? It could just be sort of organized differently, probably to their own benefit, because quite often we're overcommitted to things because we do recognize that we need certain skills and that we don't have, or certain experiences, and other people inspire us. And of course, being all the amazing salespeople that we are, it's like, oh yeah, I have to have that. And then in the end, it's things maybe are kind of a little bit out of order. And so it's my hope that through, and my wish, and part of the reason I was working on small groups, that the think tank is only 8 people, is so that you have time to really dig deep in your own work. The big programs are wonderful for so many things, but there's also a real need. It kind of tends to go like big groups and then one-to-one. And I think there is this need for small collaborative groups. And so this is part of one of the elements of the think tank.
Awesome. I love that. So I couldn't agree with you more, right? And that's kind of like what we're doing here in this masterclass, is like, we all have unique ideas to share. So we're bringing them together because I can't be everything to everyone, neither can Donna. But when we come together, then magic can happen, right? More results, more information exchange, all of that. So thank you so much for being part of this. So I will let you take it away. Tell us how to create our business vision. I will monitor questions. I'll jump in and ask you questions. Anybody that's watching, you can put your questions in the comments and we'll go from there.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. So basically, I was just going to start off with like, what is a business vision, and possibly why do you need one? And so for me, as an intuitive, it's like the eagle's eye view. And if you think of an eagle, they fly really up high and can see far away, but they can also zoom in on something very specific. So the vision is not just sort of a vague, off in the clouds kind of thing, but it's a very concrete way of combining your skills, your talents, your own desires and opportunities, and new business models in unique ways that really, really play to your strengths and are more fulfilling and more unique. And one of the advantages of being a solopreneur is that you can do what you want.
Absolutely.
And we forget, but we forget that. Like we're taught systems, and the systems are great. I mean, they're really great and they're necessary because they provide structure. But at a certain point, the fun happens when you can take the structures that you've learned and the systems that you've learned and use them to your own advantage. It's like a really creative chef that learns all the basics and all the fundamentals and the knife skills and all the classic sauces and everything. And then they take what they know and come up with something that is unique to them. And so to me, that's what I think is really, really important, but also because we spend so much time working. And once you choose to go out on your own, why wouldn't you do something that really, really speaks to your heart? And as an intuitive, I basically just cut to the chase and I save you a lot of time by telling you things. And maybe it goes deeper. And I did a small session with Lacey, but it was just to kind of give her an idea also of what I do. But it does take who you are. You don't all of a sudden become somebody different, but it sort of magnifies what you're doing. I don't know if that's a good expression, way of describing that. It sort of magnifies what you're doing and sort of refocuses in a way that plays even more to strengths that maybe you don't necessarily realize that you have, and that are the things that you're actually most known for, or that have strike a chord with other people. And as Lacey said, it is kind of, I started using the North Star, because the North Star is a navigational instrument. It tells you where to go. And so once you have that North Star, everything becomes easier. It's not that you're a slave to it, but it just helps you sort of separate the wheat from the chaff. All these mixed metaphors here, right?
Yes.
It helps you be less distracted by things that aren't your core purpose and your core vision.
I'll add really quickly, because I think this is important. Like, I coach around content a lot. And a lot of my clients will come to me and say, like, I'm terrible at content. I can't figure out content. And a lot of the time that's not actually the issue, right? It's exactly what you just said, which is like, I don't have this North Star. I don't have this thing. So every time I try to write something, I am exceptionally confused. So then I make it about the writing and not about the vision. So I think that's so clear what you're saying.
Yeah. I think like a pastry chef isn't sitting at home wondering how to make a ragu, right? He's sitting at home thinking about maybe a different way of doing something with chocolate, or he's in his own world and he knows what he's doing. He's in his lane. And it doesn't mean you have to exclude things or be sort of, monochord, or sort of just do that sort of vocational, you do one thing, only thing. I don't believe in that, because we all do so many things. And this new expression that people say, multi-passionate, where we all are. It's so that expression kind of gets on my nerves. Yeah, that's who we are. That's who we are. I mean, we like to barbecue, we like to garden, we like to go sailing, we like to talk to our friends, we like to go shopping. I mean, we all like a lot. We like to read, we like to think, we like to, build our businesses. We're all multi-passionate. So it's an expression that kind of drives me crazy. But so there you go. So I never use it except to say that it drives me crazy. Because we're ultimately very, very creative. Like everything we do is creative. So I think it's really important to sort of empower yourself and kind of take that back. But anyways, getting back to the business vision, some of the, I'm going to say questions, I don't want to say exercises, I guess they're kind of questions that you can ask yourself that can help you figure out things. Because sometimes business is going okay, but maybe it's tiring, or you're earning a certain amount, but you'd like to be earning more, or you don't know how to start. Like these are all things that can happen to anybody along their process. Like it can happen at any level. And it's really just checking in. First of all, what you think a business is. And to me, a business is the sort of the external and natural manifestation of my gift and my purpose.
Beautiful.
Especially, as I said, especially as solopreneurs. To me, this is really important. You've made the choice to go out on your own. Do things that match up with you. And no matter how many times people tell you to do, to give the market what they want, kind of yes and kind of no, kind of no. Because if it doesn't make you happy, then don't do it. The whole purpose of this whole thing is vanified by that kind of just getting off track and being told, well, the clients need this, and then they need this, and then they need this. It may be true, but it may not be true. And you lose the fun, and you lose the enthusiasm. I'm probably going to drive a lot of coaches crazy with all this talk, but I think it's important. It's the more you are true to yourself and true to what you do best, the happier you'll be, and the happier clients will be, because when you're giving in your absolute zone of genius, everybody's always happy. Nobody complains. And we all make mistakes along the way, but nobody's ever going to complain about it because they can tell. You know what I'm saying? There's such a quality and an intrinsic quality to what you're providing that it just makes everything so much easier and such a different level, higher level, but also more profound. So higher and lower, deeper and deeper at the same time.
I always tell my clients, like, you have your vision, right? And then we create strategy around that, not the other way around, right? It's not like we create this strategy and then you try to fit yourself into it. That's actually what we do in corporate. We want to do the exact opposite here, right? So that's why you help them create that vision first.
Right. But the mentality, like the corporate mentality, remains, because a lot of us, definitely. I think most of us have worked in some other kind of job. So we have this idea of business as being something sort of icky in some ways, right? And that if we're lucky, we'll make it good, nice, and something I enjoy. Because we kind of almost, there's a part of us that almost doesn't believe that, because we work in offices.
It seems too easy, too good, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that can't be true then. But then what was that other thing I was doing, right? And it is true that also by learning the systems, especially when they're less natural to you, like let's say tech or whatever, it's really easy for me to just get totally lost and, sucked down a tech black hole and forget what it is I'm supposed to be doing. That is very true, by the way. That isn't made up. But so to get back to what your zone of genius is, it's also sort of looking at what your job is, or what the service you're providing. Can be a physical object. I talk about a cup of coffee, right? There are so many ways you can make a cup of coffee. You can make it with love. You can make it because it's like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Even if it's your own bar, right? You said you want to be a barista, you want to open your cafe, and you're making this coffee. And the way you hand it to your client, the way you make it, the way you choose the coffee, the way you choose the cup, the attention and the care that you put in thinking of the final experience that person's going to have, and the way it's served and the way it's handed to them makes such a huge difference. So it's your intention and what you're doing to that person. You're giving them a cup of coffee, but through the serving of a cup of coffee, you're actually taking care of somebody. It's a moment of that, it's like your mom, brings you that cup of tea. I always use the cup of tea thing. So I guess I had a lot of cups of tea. But, it's when you are selling coffee, but what you're selling those people is a moment. So a moment of personal exchange, a moment of contact. Somebody's taking care of me, like that. When people say, oh, it's like homemade or really artisanal or something, because they feel the care that was put into it. At the same time, you're giving them a taste experience. They're giving them, it's the whole sensorial experience of what they're buying. And to underestimate that is to go off track very easily. And why we think chains like, the big M, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Certainly.
There are certain, like why McDonald's feels in some way sort of so impersonal is because it is. And so it's really hard to, it's hard to create that and hard to keep that. So in our businesses, things like a copywriter, they have to understand that they're not just selling words. I did this exercise with someone the other day, a copywriter, and it's like, what is it that you sell? What are you selling? What are your clients actually buying? It's not just what are you selling. What do your clients actually buy? What makes them buy? And so they're saying words, and then I can understand them, and then I listen, and the listening's good. When you're a copywriter, listening's good. That's it. But they're giving away their voice. It's like all of a sudden I become mute, which my kids would love. I become mute, and I become mute, and I give you my voice. It's like, holy, that's you need trust. You need to trust that person. So the copywriter
feel understood.
is really, yeah, but that copywriter is in a position of trust. So what they are selling trust in some way. Like, so the real currency of their business is trust. I'm trusting you with my dreams. I'm trusting you with my voice. I'm trusting that you'll be able to really show the value of what it is that I'm offering to people, and that the right people will find it and understand it. That's trust.
Absolutely.
And if you don't understand that that's your real business, or you're a person who isn't trusting, who's a copywriter but is always like worried that somebody's going to rip you off, or what about this, and you're always on the defensive, you will never hit that spot. So no matter how good you are with words, you will never have that experience that you want to have, but neither will your clients. So this is one of the things that I would
through that again for a second, because I followed you, but like I think we could expand on that. So in other words, like I'm selling trust, but I'm not trusting of others. That really creates like a gap in my business,
a disconnect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is it. Looking at what the job is. Like, for example, accountants, and financial planners sell empowerment, right? They're selling empowerment through debits and credits and accounts receivables and, write-offs and stuff like that. But by helping you understand and come into contact with the numbers and the money, it's very empowering. So think of when you have no idea what's in your account, and when you know to the cent what's going on, how different you feel. If you've experienced both of them, I have.
Sure. And when you know
what, small ways,
when you feel like you actually have like the knowledge and power to like make good decisions with your money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But even goes back to, like your first allowance. It's like you knew how much you had and you knew how much things cost. So you're trying to figure out how to make it last or whatever. So your first choices. But it's really a sensation of empowerment that these people are. So going back to the copywriter, if for some reason they're a person who has, who when they check in with themselves isn't a natural confidant for other people, that people don't talk to easily, they don't enjoy talking to other people, they would rather be off in their own little worlds, like just let me write, but you can't do that. Yeah. So so in that sense, there's an examining of what is actually going on in your business. Like, what is it? The business that you've chose, what is the service you're providing? What is it that what's going on underneath the surface? And then checking in with yourself as how good a match is that to you, and if it doesn't match you, then maybe you are somebody who deals in words and communications, but maybe in a different way, maybe as a PR, maybe as a social media content. I mean, as a strategist, they're all different things that you can do around words without being a copywriter. So once you've sort of honed down the sphere of I love communication and I love words, is this really what I'm best at? Should I be a copywriter, or should I be teaching copywriters? Do I like to teach, or do I want to be the one doing it? These are all questions that some people are really surprised when all of a sudden they realize that they're actually doing something they don't like as much as they thought they would, and you forget that you can change your mind.
So walk us through, like, what are some of the questions we could ask ourselves to figure out what are we really selling? Like, what are some key questions that we could, like, I think people have trouble diving deeper there, right? Like, for me, when you said financial advisors equals empowerment, I was like, yeah, duh. But like, how do you get there? How do you find that?
You have to look, and you can even maybe talk with a friend or something, or it might even be easier not to start with yourself. Like, as I said, like, start with a cup of coffee, the coffee shop, or start with people who are serving clothes, something easy or something small.
A service that you've experienced that you can then train.
A service that you experience and a service that you buy. Like, so why do I go there for coffee and not there? Why do I go to Starbucks and not Second Cup or whatever? Throwing in some Canadian names here. But you know what I'm saying? And what do I expect from that experience? And what is it that brings me there? What do I experience when I'm there? Why am I satisfied? Why am I dissatisfied? And just sort of try and figure out what's going on underneath the surface, right? And it's interesting because it's almost never what you think.
Yes.
There is obviously that exchange. There's obviously that exchange, but there's a lot going on underneath that if you can tap into that, how does that change you? It changes it. First of all, you become more aware, and awareness is great. So if it's, so one level is words.
Yes.
Right? And words and conversion.
Yes, actually, this is a great example. I'm so glad that you said this because I actually took a screenshot of a Facebook ad the other day. I did not want to buy the product at all, but I was so compelled by it. Like, it was just fascinating copy. And I remember taking the screenshot and thinking, I got to figure out what about this is so compelling to me because I'm not going to buy, I don't want that product, but I cannot stop reading this. So you're so
Oh, that's so cool.
Right. And like I was doing it and didn't even realize it, but you're so right. It's like there was something else there. It wasn't just the words.
Mm-hmm. And if you can, so when you tap into what's underneath that, it's, first of all, it's easier for you to be more satisfied in your job, right? Because if I'm just handing you a cup of coffee, or if I'm just writing some words on a page, hoping that they convert, or, you know, because I have a magic formula, I can only be so satisfied because this is what
my fulfillment level is like not going to be.
Yeah, minimal. It'll be minimal, right? And that's why you start looking at the money. And then as soon as you start looking at the money, it's over, to me anyways. Because then because money isn't anything. It sounds weird, but money isn't actually a thing, right? We've made it a thing, but it isn't actually a thing. Yeah. And so, and it has no positive or negative qualities to it. It just is, right? Like you don't say, well, we won't go too far off track there, but it doesn't have any intrinsic qualities. So the further down you can go into what's going on, to the exchange that's going on with you, the easier it is to find fulfillment in it. And I'll just give you this funny example. This is about motivation, so it's not entirely the same. But I was cooking on television, on daytime television in Italy. And like, it's just a daytime TV program. Like, it's not the most, it was a great experience and I loved it and I was grateful to do it, but it wasn't like, this is earth shattering.
Like, I'm not changing everyone's life or...
No. Not even my own. It didn't pay that well, but I had great hair and great makeup, so I learned to go out that night. It was great. They were so nice, and so I always learned to go out that same day because I looked amazing. Right? So people say, "Wow, what did you do?" It's like, oh, if you only knew. But what I changed it into, though, was offering to. So I had to do something with it. It's like, okay, so I'm going to offer this food to the people because it was a live audience. I'm going to offer it to the people in the audience. I'm going to offer it to the people who are watching. May they be nourished. May they be inspired to look after themselves. May they be inspired to look after the people. So by adding a layer of emotion and motivation and meaning to what I was doing, it wasn't just that sort of, oh, here I'm making a cake on TV thing. And the funny thing is that the ratings were exactly proportional to the amount of effort I put into my meditation and intention. And one time I was really early and they were late. It's very rare that I'm early. It's quite common for them to be late. But anyways, I had a ton of time and I sat around in my dressing room doing this thing. And those were the highest ratings of any segment since the program had
Wow, that's such a good story.
But so so the next time I came in, everybody's like, they were always really nice, but they were like super nice. It's like, what? It's like, okay, what happened? I'm the same person. And so then they told me, but it just goes to show you the power. So when you find the meaning in what you're doing, it's so much easier. You put those words in your copy. Let's go back to the copywriter. So when they're selling their own services, they use words like trust, empathetic, I'm listening. I turn your dreams into words. That's a tagline I gave somebody. All these things that evoke what that person doesn't even realize that they're looking for. And so you're speaking to the undercurrent. So the more aware you can be of what it is that's actually going on, the easier it is for you to choose what to do for yourself, but also to offer something as far as when you purchase, or invest in something. And then, but also be more conscious of what you're offering to your client. And again, more conscious of the fact of whether that's aligned with what you're best at, or whether it's taken you off track somehow. And that's why you can't see maybe a lot of solutions, or you can't see, you get stuck in, I don't know what to write thing, because you're sort of getting away from what you really should be doing. And of course, all businesses have icky bits. I call them the icky bits, right? That nobody wants. The icky bits. And if for everybody, the icky bit is different. Like some people don't care about, doing automation or something like that. Another person is like, please don't make me do that. So those, like, be, smart enough to, as soon as humanly possible, which means financially possible, outsource them. But, and that's easy, but look at your offers and see, well, if I'm even my offers, is this what the client really wants? So when they say people don't buy, quite often it isn't, because they haven't centered it. Like, it's not completely wrong, but it isn't really in kind of like that sweet.
Is it more like, so it's two questions, I think. Let me just clarify. The first is, am I talking about what I'm actually selling, right? Like, am I conveying that? So copywriter's cross. And then number two is, if I feel like I'm doing that and it's still not working, is it actually in alignment with me, right? So I'm a copywriter. I'm putting trust all over my sales page, but I'm still not getting people. Well, do I really want to sell copy? Like, is this what I want to be doing? It's like that 2-layered question, right?
Yeah. Yes. Because it comes really, if you listen to your actual body, like if you feel when you read things out loud, read your own copy out loud where you cringe, because you cringe. We all cringe over certain words that we say. We kind of go, oh, why did I write that or something? That's it's true though. It's a huge, I think I say things that people don't dare say out loud, which is probably why
I've never done that. I'm going to do that tonight.
Read your stuff out loud. It is shocking. It's always a shock. Like,
and then when you kind of
what possessed? You're like, oh, yeah, it's like, what possessed me to write that? These poor people that have to read it. No wonder they don't read my copy. But you can, but your body, like when you feel about different, when you think about offering something, it's really strange. Our body tells us so much. When you think about, I just want to tell everybody, she's the one that's yawning, but it's way later for me than it is for her.
I don't know what it is. It's like really interesting.
It's the middle afternoon.
It's when I'm around people that I really love and I'm comfortable with. Like, I did this last week with Lindsay because I love her and I'm so comfortable around her. Same with you. Like, I just get very like a relaxed and yawny, but I'm super engaged. I'm just like very comfortable. Yeah.
So we all now know that that's a compliment. Yeah. So the next time she talks to you, you talk to her and she starts yawning and yawning and yawning. It's like, oh, great. This is amazing.
To remind my husband that, like, I really am listening. I promise.
Yeah. But anyways, so just So that's exactly what you said. It's easy. There's almost even 3 levels. Like, am I explaining what I'm doing as a service that people can really understand what the crux of it is? Is that aligned with who I am? And am I speaking to what it is they actually want? And so it's kind of almost those 3 things. And that takes you really, really far, even though it might not be, what can I say, creative in the sense of inventing something new, but it really helps focus and align what you're doing now. And we always talk about copywriters. We're on to poor copywriters. Today they get picked on, but they always say that the about page isn't about you. So then why is your business about you? If the about page is about you and theoretically about you and your business, but it isn't about you, it's about your client, then just you have to sort of expand that into remembering that your business has almost nothing to do with you. I'm at the service of my clients. I'm sort of like a conduit or a channel or something without getting all sort of esoteric about things, but no, really, just because I'm an intuitive, but anybody else, they're even if it's a very sort of, let's call it mundane or conventional service, you're really just providing something for those people that they need, but it's for them. It's not for you. You might enjoy doing that, but that has nothing to do with them. That sounds like maybe a weird thing.
No, I totally agree. Like, I enjoy coaching. It is very fulfilling to me. But in my coaching sessions, I'm not sitting there like, how can I get the most out of it, right? I'm like, how can they get the most out of it? There's definitely like this difference of like, yes, it fulfills me, but it's about them, right? And I totally agree with you.
I think the most successful businesses, the people who put aside their egos,
Amen.
Right? Because if I'm just sitting here, I think you have to, or because you can't serve if you're so focused on yourself, you can't serve. And a lot of the people who listen to the replay or here online, they might be moms, or you're a friend or a spouse or a partner or something. And that moment when you're looking after the other, you forget about yourself. And generally they're more fulfilling moments. So I could sit around and say, oh, I can do this and I can do that, and use it sort of like a card trick, being an intuitive or something. But that has nothing, do you know what I'm saying? Like a party trick or something.
Where that makes you look good, not helps the other person.
But it's the most beautiful thing when that other person is just like, wow, I never thought of it that way. I never saw that. And it's like, oh, and you can just see and feel the possibilities open up for them. That's just like the best thing ever. And then when they actually when things move forward and they get confirmation pretty quickly that things are that they're moving in the right direction. That's really, to me, that's the special part. I really
And I think
love
that's
that.
another important question is like, so how do you know when you kind of like hit that sweet spot with your vision? Things start moving really fast. Talk to us about that. Like, what does that look like when you've kind of done this digging, right? You feel like you know exactly what you're selling. You're really aligned. You're talking about the undercurrent of what you're selling. How do you know that that's like working? How are you feeling? What's showing up for you?
I think there's generally a sensation of, enthusiasm, excitement. Like you're a little more, there's a little bit more energy in
Pep
what
in
you're
your
doing.
step.
Like, wow, that feels good. Yeah, a little pep in your step about it. It's like, wow, yeah, I really like this. Or the one thing that you do is I could do that all day. And I think that's part of it. Another part of it is it's really funny. The money comes when you've kind of hit your sweet spot. It's strange, but it's a lot easier. Things are faster. Like, well, I was doing other things. Just because you can do things doesn't mean you should be doing them. And I can do a lot of things because I've done a ton of things, like literally a ton of things. A, because I've been doing it. I've been around a long time. And B, because I've had a lot of nice chances to do very interesting things. But they were not, as I said, what I had to find out was like, why did I do all that weird stuff, right? That seemed to have nothing to do with each other, because underneath there was this undercurrent. So once I owned this undercurrent, then things moved very, very quickly. They moved quickly with you. They moved quickly with other clients. And so when I came out and to say, well, this is actually what I've been doing all along, and clients would always keep me on and they would always ask me these things anyways, right? So
it was just like you actually digging into that and asking yourself those questions, right? So for our listeners, that's like a takeaway too, right? Is like, look at all the other things you've done. What has been the undercurrent there as well, right?
Yeah. See what common element there could be, because I've done so many different things. You'd think that there wouldn't be one, or you might at first think that it was creative, right? They were all creative jobs, basically. But basically, that's not actually what happened. But the penny didn't The penny didn't drop on that for a long time. Like that was recent when I thought, oh my God, I've always known that this is what I did for people and for companies. But then when I really decided to focus on it, it was like, wow, that's been part of every single job I've ever had. And I've always worked as a consultant, so these have always been clients, and not traditional 9 to 5. I've never had a traditional 9 to 5 except for summer jobs. Yay.
You're an entrepreneur to the core.
Or what would you call it? A free spirit, anyways. Let's put it that way. But when you can think about but also about your future, like how would I like to spend my day? These are questions that are available. They're not like weird, strange questions. It's like, what would I like my day to be like? What kind of activities do I like to do? Like if I could talk to Lacey all day long, I would talk to Lacey all day long and make plans and dreams, and we could do this and we could do that. I mean, I love that, or anybody else, right? And what do your friends go to you for? What do your family? These are questions that when people say, like, when you're trying to find your niche. But I wouldn't worry about that so much as niche in the sense that I serve, these people that are described in a certain way or whatever, because I did that and I met that person and they were pretty boring. It's like, oh, okay. I think I got that wrong. They were exactly, the universe was kind to me and sent me once for this live thing. There were a lot of people had signed up and nobody came. Well, it's pretty typical. But one person came, and that one person was exactly my ideal client avatar.
And you're like,
and it was like, wow, that was like a lunch bag letdown. That was so not fun. It's like, rethink here. But it was really, really interesting because we often fixate about things that have really not that much to do with what we're really
and you
good
paid
at.
attention to it. I mean, that's what's key there too, right? You weren't like, oh, I just had an off day, or, oh, I wasn't grateful that the universe sent that to me. You were like, something is not jiving here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to say, well, why was that? Why was that there? Like whatever happens to you, there's a why. It's not always the why that you think there is. Like you end up in a place, you make a choice to do something, and that's your reason, your so-called logical reason to get there. But then with time, you understand that the logic got you to where you're supposed to be for other reasons. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like, I think what you're saying is these questions, these opportunities are so available and we make it so complicated, right? We just don't see it. We don't listen. And it's like, like you, for example, you were constantly being like hit in the face with like what you do is create a big business vision for people and you just couldn't like see it. So you kind of sometimes need to pay more attention, or you need an outside person to like help you see what you can't see.
Yeah, a bit of both. Also because I had, and I probably still to some extent, because I don't think I've gotten it written completely. I didn't have the best opinion of the word business. Right. I had sort of a misconception of what it was. So anything that was business, I kind of felt, suit and tie-ish and,
Stuffy.
that kind of thing going on the subway. Anyway, that kind of sharky sort of stuff. So it was just like that word is like, no, I can't do that. It's like, no, that's not me. Because of course I'm like, I have really strong spiritual practice and I've always been a creative. So it's like, no, I can't do, no. But in the end, that's actually the thing I do the best, and I do well. In the end, I've always done a lot of so, and with the most, as you said, with the most diverse people, yeah. So that's fun. So when I say think about what happens to you, I try and look at it from in as neutral a way as possible, maybe with non-judgment, and sort of like, well, what is this? What am I here to like? What can I learn from this, and what am I being shown in a good way or in a bad way? Because all the hard things are basically ways of saying, don't go this way, go somewhere, like change direction, right? There's sort of like
course correction,
little bumpers, like course correction things, right? And so when you found your zone of genius, and when you found like when you can feel what it is and you like what it is, but you're still not sort of things are not. Think of maybe different ways you can apply things. Like my famous friend, who's the next Buddhist monk, he was traveling all over the place doing weekend retreats, which is pretty typical. And of course, Dharma is meant to be extremely financially accessible, so it's never very expensive. And so the only way you can earn a living and maintain and look after your family, provide for your family, and he has 2 small children and a wife, is to do more. But there's only so much you can do. So but he's not a greedy person, because of course he's like the opposite of all that. Like he has no attachment to money whatsoever. He's an angel, really. He's amazing. And so talking to him is just like, well, why did you do a virtual Dharma center? And all of a sudden he's just like, oh, that's amazing, because he can just walk up the hill, open up his little retreat center, hold his sessions, come back down. The cost is very low, and he doesn't have to worry about the room being too big or too small, because everybody's in their own space, right, at home. And he's able to keep contact with the people who he would go around to see, because he couldn't go to the same area more than once every 2 or 3 months, probably about 3 months. And so those people also would have this kind of like, they would look forward to this intensive with him, but then it'd be kind of like they're on their own with their own practice, the meditation practice in the meantime. But things come up. So it's nice to have that contact. So in this way, like that just opened a whole world for him, and a whole world of teaching differently and reaching people differently. And he speaks 5 languages, so he can do it in almost any language.
I love that. Like he was always on the right path. He had the undercurrent down. He had the alignment down, but then it was like, but are you doing it in the most efficient way? Or are you doing it in a way that serves you? So it's like very like practical, but like also just stuff that we don't think about, right?
Yeah. And he was just like, the first time he did that session, he said, that's changed my life. Like he said, first of all, he loved doing it. He loved the virtual space. Like, so for a meditator, that's like a cool thing. And he really loved that. That really caught him in that sense. But also the ease with which, that's the other thing. It became easy in the sense that it not, slogging your way through things. We're not meant to slog. Yeah, things are hard. You can work. I mean, I have a friend who's allergic to the word hard, but things can be challenging or difficult or whatever. It's not that there's no effort involved, but it's just, if you think of a river that's flowing with a really strong current, it's very strong, but it's not necessarily making an effort.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a flow. It's not a push.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not always, trying to make things happen and things like that. So that's one way of doing it, is finding it. So to think of different applications, like, even brainstorm with your friends or something, like different things that you could do with the same, even if it's even not in the same business that you're doing right now, because it might give you another idea. Like just even go crazy with thinking of all these different things that you could do with that talent you have. Like, I don't know, for a circus clown, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you make people laugh. I could be a stand-up comedian, or I could write funny copy, or I could do like all these different things. Try and just sort of go crazy a little bit. And that helps you maybe find different, I like hybrid models, by the way. Like I really like hybrid things. Like I don't think we all automated programs or all offline programs, or I love like a lot of, because variety, they say variety is the spice of life. So I love the fact that you can do, you know, live retreats, you can do virtual retreats, you can do in-person events, you can do it yourself study, you know, study things. Just there's a whole world of different ways that you can apply your business and your knowledge and communicate with your tribe, which it's like eating the same thing all the time. No matter how much you like it, you do like variety. So, you know, mixing it up a little bit is more fun for you and more fun probably for your tribe.
I love that, because I think when people think big business vision, right? Like probably when they came to this today, the thought was like one thing, right? And you're like, no, like many things, or many things that feel good to you, or a couple things that feel good to you, or whatever. But we're not saying like have this one vision and only do that. We're saying like give yourself space within that vision to grow. It's like your North Star. It's not like your ball and chain you're pulling along with you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I think, you know, from the conversation that we had, you know, with your thing, there were many different ways of applying the things that I said. And the same with other people. They have some, that's what's interesting is that usually multiple income streams open up. I would say I've never had that. Yeah, I would say that's one of the characteristics of the work I do, I would say, is that there are always multiple income streams. But I don't do it on purpose. It's how to apply the same thing. It's like you use lemon in cooking, but you can make it to make a cake, a cookie, put it on pasta, put it on chicken. It's still a lemon. And you're using it in all those different ways, right? It's not a lemon, but you're using it in ways that is applied. So that it's kind of, so think of yourself as a lemon, right? That's going to catch on for sure. That sounds big. But anyways.
Be the lemon.
It's like, forget lemonade. Be the lemon.
Exactly. When life gives you lemons, be the lemon.
Yeah, exactly. Be the lemon. Screw everything else.
Like, that totally makes sense though. Like, here is your vision. And then potentially from here, there are 15 ways that you could apply that vision or whatever. But like, if you don't have that thing, it's really hard to come up with the ways you can apply it. As soon as you have that thing, it's so easy to mix and match, right? Like the lemon in the recipe, right? Like once you have the lemon, it's so easy to think of, well, I could put it in all these places, but I got to get the lemon first, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a quality usually that you bring to your work, right? It's a quality or a trait. It's rather than a thing. You know, Definitely. And then the other thing that I think that really I really like, and I believe that this is a really, really important part of business models, is we've been brought up to, because of the separation of, we're brought up to separate everything, which is a lousy idea. But by separating business, but we also separated it from our charity work or from our, well, let's call it charity work or whatever you want to call it. Things that speak to your heart or your causes or whatever. But I think that those are, and, you know, companies would say, oh yeah, I'll do that because I can, you know, sort of write that off, or I'll make money and I'll donate a certain amount. But I think it can be more than that. I think you can integrate a lot more. And strangely enough, for more and more people, business models are coming up where that's an integral part of their business. I'm not getting popping here. An integral part of their business, but also a way of calling your tribe. Let's say you're an animal lover and you can't stand that animals, you know, dogs are being eaten in China, or that all these dogs are being put down in the States or whatever. What if you use that as part of your call to your tribe for the service that you're providing? Because so if I were going to, let's just pick on a copywriter, but a copywriter who loves animals, or a business coach who loves animals, or who hates like just
loves
somebody,
animals.
just somebody.
Yes.
Can't think of who. a business coach who loves animals, but that also makes that part of their business model. And, you know, and you do things with that, and you're fundraising together, and you're, you know, there's so many things that you can do, because we're taking back our power as individuals, right? We're taking it back. Now I'm going to get people are going to forget, taking it back from the state. I'm not going to go all Illuminati on everybody, but all I'm saying is that we're realizing that we have a lot more power than we think we do. And that we can come together freely to act for the things that we believe in the most. And this is really, really important. And I think this is a way. There's one guy who's coined a name for it, because of course he had to make up a name for it. But basically where your social conscience is an integral part of your business. And this is, I also think, is really, really important. And especially when you're an individual and you're a solopreneur. And again, it's not a separate part of you. That's also part of you. So bring it into your business and celebrate it. And people should know. Right? Yeah. And you can tithe yourself. You can encourage your clients to tithe themselves. And you can do all kinds of other stuff like that. But again, it becomes a way of recognizing your tribe, right? It becomes a way of attracting people. And it's a quality that people like about you, because, oh yeah, she loves animals too. You know, oh, she has a dog, and, you know, is maybe lurking there somewhere.
Yeah. She's here.
Yeah.
But yes, I totally agree with you. And actually, I think that's a great reflection for me. And I think that's something we can all take away, is like, I personally give quite a bit to a local animal charity that I love. I also donate to Kiva. I donate on behalf of my clients to Kiva a lot. And I never talk about that, right? Because for me, it's like this separate thing. So I think that's so beautiful, is that like we have to start like looking at our business vision as this all-encompassing thing. Not as like, well, I have my business vision, then I have my giving back vision, then I have, no, it's like all the same, right?
Yeah. Well, because we're brought up that charity is only charity if you don't talk about it and you don't make a big deal of it. But I think there's a difference between bragging about it and look what I did and look what I gave, to, guys, I know you love animals as much as I do. Let's all help this one shelter this month. And next month we'll put all our money into another shelter, because you get so much more done. Then everybody gives $5 to one shelter every month of the year. And then, or instead of like focusing your group, gives everybody a small amount to one. Like, I think that's cool. Yeah. And there's nothing, so in the sharing, in the coming out and the open about things like that, I think is, you know, there's a nobility to that has nothing to do with the ego. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this thing, right? It's a completely different thing. And one of my clients, she was a fashion designer, and she had a big thing about, she had an idea and a dream, and she couldn't bring it forward because she was afraid of being judged. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if they don't like it? On the one hand, and on the other hand, she had a really strong vocation. She would spend a lot of time in third world countries teaching women how to sew or how to do things like that, and working a lot on empowerment. And she has a special charity in Italy that she's very attached to, that has different villages all over the place, even in Northern Europe, which you wouldn't think, but basically sort of the ex-Soviet Union. So because there are a lot of women that don't have a lot of education, they're not earning a lot of money, you know, the social, what can I say? They're not as, well, they're a little bit behind in some things. And she had these all as separate things. And in the end, you know, we were talking, and in this was like a half day intensive. These things are really fast. That's another thing I want to say, that it doesn't take much to just, it's like taking a camera and, you know, focusing. It doesn't take long for it to go out of focus to be in focus. It doesn't take much. And then all of a sudden things become really clear. And I said, well, what if it wasn't about you? And she had this one brand called Cam, which is hug in Sanskrit. And so everything she makes, I said, well, what if it weren't about you? What does hug mean to you? What does a hug mean to you? So it's like universal love, universal compassion, protection, all those things, right? And I said, okay, so then now tell everybody who's involved with it that they received that. By working on this project, they receive that. Like, I provide the fabric, I provide the, I don't know, I can't think of it in English, whatever. What's it
called? Sewing machine. I don't know.
No. What goes in the middle? Like, my brain's going to light.
That's okay.
Because it's like whatever. But just anything that's involved in the whole. it's going to come to me later. I'm going to put it in capital letters under the thread or something when the word comes back to me. But the people all along the chain of supply, being told that by doing this, this is what they receive, and this is what they're giving, and to imagine to give that. So you imagine sewing something like that. Imagine that whoever wears that is going to receive infinite love, infinite compassion. Then through this hug, right? And then the hug, the person who, and each person along the way is invited to, if they wish, not the people who are sewing, but let's say maybe sort of fabric suppliers or whatever, to make a donation. The people who are like the retailers are invited to make it, and it's not obligatory, invited to make a donation. Her tithing herself is an integral part of her business model. And then the person who purchases the finished product knows the whole story, and they're told that by wearing it, this is what you will receive. And as you walk down the street, people who see that, whether come in contact with you directly or indirectly, will receive the same thing. Will receive love. They'll feel like they'll be hugged. And so you're just sort of this waves and waves and waves of this. And she's also invited if she wants to make a donation. So just think of that. And so when I said that, just that person, it wasn't about her anymore. And then she got out, it was a long car trip, and I just she was my prisoner. So at the end of that long car trip, it was like a half day. She was my prisoner. No, but so this really was about 4 hours. So we did this all in about 4 hours, and she got it the next day. She made 3 phone calls and set the entire thing up. And she started, and it started now with something small. And she's got this little bracelet with all these words for hug or whatever that's traveling the world and people and spreading this message everywhere. So she started with something small. She did some of the bigger pieces. She was able to put together her favorite charitable association with as centers of production and going to teach them. So she was able to bring it all together. And so rather than thinking, I want to earn enough money because I want to give it to those people,
it was like, let's put it into the model, right?
All one big thing. So things like this. And so in that sense, the vision is really, really big, but it becomes so big that it becomes not about you anymore. And therefore it's easier. Right?
Yes. So kind of like recapping, like it starts with you, right? Are you in alignment? Then it starts with like the undercurrent, or then it goes to the undercurrent of like, what are you actually selling, right? And then we kind of circle back to like, and then how do we incorporate like more impact into that, right? More of like what we believe in, what we want to create in this world. And so our business vision is like the big focus of all of that, right?
Yeah. And then you go back to everything, and it becomes easier and easier because, and what I'm doing or what I'm thinking about doing is that in alignment with this whole thing. It's just kind of like a litmus test, right? And then, again, the next stage is collaboration and figuring out where you can collaborate. So it's not just me serving clients. It's how can I help those clients find their perfect partners, which is something that you are really, really good at. Like this whole partnership, the Lit Up partnership started with this, desire to help people connect and find constructive and fruitful partnerships, because you can do so much more. And again, to sort of do as much as you can, right? Like just do as much as you can to make life better for as many people as you can. And whether my zone of genius is helping one person, and that one person is then able to impact thousands of people, I indirectly impact thousands of people. So don't always worry about scale. It's not always as important, but if you form 10 amazing leaders in their fields, those 10 people can create impact for millions and millions and millions of people. So do you know what I'm saying? Because we quite often get confused by thinking that to have a big impact, you have to serve, a bazillion people or something, but that's not necessarily true.
Yes. You get to decide, right? Like, and that also goes back to your zone of genius. Like, am I a human that does really, really well on a stage in front of thousands of people, or am I someone that does really, really well with one-on-one, and that's how I create my impact, right? It's back to like, who are you and how does that affect your vision, right?
Mm-hmm. And honoring that, because again, that's where you will give the most. Not everybody is Tony Robbins, or there would be nobody in his audience, right? We would all be standing on empty stages yelling and having our hands waving around. Tony Robbins is great, but I'm just saying that not that many people can do that. That's why there's only one of him, and they're not.
Absolutely.
Because pretty unusual.
This was amazing, Donna. I feel so good about this. I think, everybody's walking away with pretty actionable tips and questions that they can ask themselves to dig deeper into their business vision. And then what we really, close with is like, how can we make an impact with it? And that is everything, right? Because that's why we're in business. Like, it goes back to how you were talking about, you can only be so fulfilled when you think it's to sell this thing and make X profit. When you then add impact onto that, things get better, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. So if anybody has any questions for Donna, feel free to post them in the comments. Thank you, Paula. We're so happy to have you. If not, Donna, I would love for you to just tell everyone how they can find you, what you have going on right now, how they can work with you, and just give them a little bit of information on getting in touch with you.
Okay, thank you. So we talked earlier about, Lacey mentioned the think tank, and the think tank is the thing that's happening next very shortly. It starts July 11th, and it's after interviewing a bunch of people. This was kind of like an ideal mixture I think it's an ideal mixture, but of something they wanted something short, something intensive that would really, really change their business. They wanted one-to-one time, but they also want to work in a group. So, and I interviewed a lot of people who were already in business, and you don't have to be in business a long time. You don't necessarily have to be a huge earner, but maybe you have a few of the cogs and wheels in place would be easier. But so it starts off with a big one-to-one vision with me. And we can take a little bit, depending on the amount of time we have together. It's usually at least a 90-minute session. But so there's 3 hours of coaching with me, or 6 hours for the next 2 people that sign up. And then we go to a group experience of 8 people, which is sort of the ideal number, right? The infinite number. And we all work together. So each person will have had this one-on-one time with me to really focus on a larger vision and a way of realigning their business and themselves to their business, sort of this two-way thing. And through the live calls, there are 12 live calls over 6 weeks. So it's short and intense. We have 3 different things going on, basically. So there are brainstorming mastermind sessions where we all focus our attention on you and your business at that time. And everybody gets a session like that, or a segment of these sessions every week. Then there's a lovely little array of amazing experts, of which Lacey is one of them, because it's really interesting, I think, also to bring in, as again, I have the vision, but I'm not, I'm definitely not, all knowing. So there are things that I think people could really bring some excellent value to. So Lacey's going to be bringing some of her amazing business coaching wizardry to the session. And that will depend on the group, whether it's laser coaching or whether it's something else that they choose together, but they choose together. And at the beginning of it all, so let's start right at the beginning. At the beginning, I have Aishwarya Luna Lakshmi, who is an amazing channeler and visionary and intuitive, and she is channeling a message for the group, because it's a very unique experience to come together in 8 people. So there's a reason that we're all there together. Well, 9, because I'm 9, but there's a reason. And then the other 3. So I guess I'm going to have to start counting everybody and figure out also what's going on with it. But there's a reason that we're all together at that time. And so that's to give us some insight as to what we're supposed to be doing together towards our businesses and to making the world a better place. Amy Walsh, who is an artist and is very talented in bringing a lot of creative techniques that artists use or creatives use to access their creative processes. I would say that's.
I think she says to be like the chief creative officer of your business.
Yeah, so that you can bring that to your business, because again, and she's also very much for this fact that humans are innately creative, and so we've sort of been taught to believe that unless you're a creative in the fine arts sense, that you're not creative, but that isn't true. And so she's the she's fighting she's the Joan of Arc of this, bringing it back to us of art. She's got this night. She wants us to feel creative, and she's amazing at. I've done a few exercises with her, experiences with her, and it's something really, really unusual and unique always comes out of that. So that's really special. And with all that creativity go on, you have to give form to things. So Lindsay Padilla, who's a college professor in sociology, but also has a passion for teaching, the art of teaching, let's put it that way, also called pedagogy, but teaching the art of teaching sounds so much more fun. And right, it's less old fashioned. There's no dust on that expression, no chalk dust. But so she's really, really talented at explaining how to build the scaffolding that students need to build the knowledge that we actually want them to learn in formats and lengths that are digestible, and so that our courses are effective. Because one of the biggest problems with anything online is that people don't finish, no matter how much heart we've put into it. Because often we're doing home study, there's a very low completion rate, and so, which is a shame, because people have either invested money and time on both ends, and there's really so much information sort of lying somewhere in a folder on their desktop that they could actually be using if it were presented in just maybe not in a completely different way, but in a slightly more effective way. So she's definitely going to be putting in her 75 cents. And of course, Lacey at the end, she's going to come in with like her business laser beam and whip us all into shape.
A little wand, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the other things that we'll be doing is, because the problems that we have, or obstacles or hangups that we decide that we have around money, around success, around visibility, they tend to be reasonably common. And I'm a practitioner of a method called transformational mindfulness methods, which is really, really sort of it's a very delicate, very gentle, but very profound guided visualization, which helps you access the inner wisdom around that icky feeling you get when you feel about being visible, or when you're yawning. It's like, why am I yawning? It's time to go. You better take Riley for a walk after this. But so we'll be working on that. So it's a pretty intense and busy 6 weeks. But by starting off with this big vision, the point is to move into absolute action and to come out of the end of the 6 weeks with a really, really clear roadmap of exactly what you're going to be doing, how it's going to be structured, how it's going to be priced, it's really, really intense. And there are a couple of quite well-known coaches that have signed up to be part of the group already. Courtney Nicole Good and Stephanie Arroyo, she's social media content. They're part of the actual experience. So they're your classmates, your think tanker mates. And just to kind of tell you the quality of the group. So it's going to be a really interesting experience. I think it's the experts. Now, this may sound weird, but I think we're all at the same level.
Certainly.
We all come in at the same level. And I think that this is what's so interesting about the group. And whether don't let that freak you out, because I think we are all at that level. Some people just have different levels of experience. So don't be confused by the experience and your ability to do the same thing, right? So maybe somebody's been in business longer than you have, and so you feel that they just have more experience. It's not,
yeah, definitely. So how can someone get in touch with you about this? If they're interested, how can they reach out to you?
Okay, so you can reach out to me here below, or in my group, which is called Big Bang Business Strategies. I also wanted to say that if somebody wants to have a little sort of taste of what's to come, that I'm really happy to offer like a 20-minute session to align maybe one of your programs, or a little question you have about what you feel your mission is. This message.
Okay, so thank you guys for being here.